Mikael Wecksten, and I will be talking about Introduction to Android Security App Review. It's a very non-descriptive title, which is great, because then I can just make up stuff. I am doing my master thesis at Chalmers. There's not much interesting about me. People that don't know me can say hello afterwards if they want to know more. Basically what I'm going to talk about today is two things: how to listen and look at Android. And that many have this idea about Android that it's some magical device or environment that, don't adhere to the rules we have for everything else. That's not exactly true. And that is why we're going to take a look, listening in to the network traffic of an Android device. I will view this through using access points that are set up on my computer, and then run Wireshark over that. And it's very easy to do once you have the hardware for it, and you will need something like this if your computer can't handle it from the start. This is a WiFi USB Dongel. These are very cheap to get. You need to get one that has a chipset that can handle being an access point, but otherwise than that, it's super easy. You can listen in to Android devices in other ways, but most of them are that you need a rooted Android. And most of them, or all of them that I found, just saves a PCAP file, Wireshark's save format basically, so you don't get it in real time, and that's a bit boring. Other good stuff with using access points, you can use like Burp suite and other very common AppSec tools, web AppSec tools. Burp suite, most common for Android recently at least, they're giving out false certificates, among other things, to break SSL. I won't show that because that's a bit more complicated. Looking in, Decompiling APKs, APK. It's the file format that our apps comes in to Android. An APK is a compressed folder. It has everything it needs. In that, the most interesting for today is a .dx file. It also has the manifest file and the resource files and everything else. I will show it later. The DEX file is Bytecode, and they just recently changed underlining virtual machine. It's still the same for us. They changed it. It's art now. Before it was Dalvik. Inside of a DEX, when you transfer it from bytecode, you can get it out in a jar file. And a jar file is just Java's zip compressed folder as well. It contains class files in this case. And those that you decompile as well, it's all just zips and zips and zips, which is very fun and easy. So let's get started. This is Wireshark. Most people have probably seen it before. I have already set up my access point, same Kali, and I also connected to the OF guest, so the information I send from my phone will just go to the internet, and it won't notice that I'm in the middle listening in, so this is a classic man-in-the-middle attack. So let's start. This is how much information my phone sends, usually, which is kind of nice. It's not very much. And I am in an application now, running, that's called Ovo. It's a chat application. I never found anyone that uses it, but it's fairly used download, I don't know. What's interesting is when I log into this, I already am logged in, it is encrypted. When I send a message, it is not. And, look at that, I didn't need even to use a search. Here you see directly in, God damn it, thank you. You see message ID, type chat from my fake account to my other fake account. And we can even see what I wrote. And this overall isn't too great. And this is a problem with many apps, sadly. They are getting better at it, but this is a problem we had before, 10 years, 20 years ago, in the web. And it all comes back because it's Android, and of course that doesn't work the same, except it does. And this is a super easy way to take a look in what actually is sent out from your phone. Some people might have heard of QQ, which is a Chinese answer to Facebook, basically. I installed that app, and then I removed it because holy shit, the amount of information that started sending out from my phone. And everything was encrypted, so I don't know exactly what was sending out, which would be a really great, this next tool to actually take a look at, but I will just take a silly example. Here I have a non-descriptive app, cube.apk, and I open up in a, well, it's a compressed folder, Arching Manager handles it for me. And here we see the manifest and the assets and everything. This is the usual things you need for an Android application to run. But this is what I'm interested in today, the .dex file. I have extracted that, and I use a tool called dex2jar. And when you run it, it just takes some time and it throws out a jar file for you based on the bytecode. Then I take that jar file. We can look at that as well in, well, as soon as it's done baking it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Then this is the jar file, so it's more folders, more class files. Nothing too fancy or fun. However, if we use the program called Java Decompiler from Java Decompiler project, this is the graphical version of it. We can actually read the code. And this is, well, it's a bit mean to use them as an example, I guess, but this is QuizCampen. Some people know about it. And some other people have actually made an example of this before. So this is an app taken from the App Store, more or less. And this is what you can get out. So, and this might not be great if you hard code sensitive information into your applications. And people do. They do that a lot. What's fun about this is, I don't know how many people have used QuizCampen before. It's you get a question, you get 4 alternatives, and you need to press the one that is correct to get a point against someone else. And this is interesting because how do they decide what is the correct answer? Well, server side, some people say. No. Well, what do you think? Answer? No, bottom. Bottom is good. We get something here. Ah, correct bottom. That's interesting. And if you actually take some time to read the code, you will see that, well, it takes in the question, it sets it up, it randomizes, and then it has a button that it knows is the correct answer. And when you press it, the basically sends back to the server that this person won because the application says it pressed the correct button. So you can easily put in a little message here, example-wise, that says this is the right answer. If you want to change this application, then recompile it and sign it yourself and run it to cheat in QuizCampen. But it's an easy example. They did this knowingly, I think, actually, to reduce time delay. And since it's not a huge security issue, it was the best example I could find. I'm a bit sad about that, actually. I should have a better, because it's not totally fair, since they actually did it for a reason. And that is the 2 tools I was thinking of showing up today. It's fairly easy and not complicated at all to get started, which I hope people will do, or at least not be as afraid about Android in the future. I should have time for some questions.
Yeah.
If there is any, yes.
What does it look like after manually with Probar?
I have not used that myself. I talked to someone that had worked with something like that before, and he said that it was more like if you decompile C code, you lose all these nifty variable names, and the loops get changed. That is more complicated to read, but since how these things works, if you just put time into it, you will get something out, which is very forgiving with Java native, is that you get everything out basically, except comments, I think. Anything? Yes.
So you check QQ, have you also find the WeChat?
Yes, I installed it and checked if they run SSL on the login, which they did. But then I needed a Chinese phone number to actually sign up, I think, if I'm not completely mistaken.
That sounds like a great exercise for the breakout session,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we can take it in the room over. Yes, thank you.
According to the initial plan, we're going on a break, but it's way too early, right?